Well, good afternoon. My name is Trevor, and I'm the owner and founder of Rio Nutrition. And I am thrilled to be here today speaking about positivity and resilience in tough times in the beef industry. Now, in 1933, March 12th, I believe it was, Franklin D. Roosevelt gave a speech, his first fireside chat. And what he was trying to do was assure the nation and give them confidence in the time they needed it most, and kind of calm those fears. Now, that's a little bit like what we're going to do today. I'm not saying I'm Franklin Roosevelt, but I think right now what people need most is a little shot in the arm of optimism and looking at the big picture. And with that, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Trevor, very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. My name is Alfredo D. Costanzo. I'm a professor at the University of Minnesota with extension responsibilities, obviously for the state of Minnesota, but we've covered the region from time to time. The work I do is in beef cattle nutrition and management, and I've been blessed to have had this job for over 27 years. So I'm very happy to, number one, be here and to look to my experience and the opportunity producers of Minnesota and other places have granted me to be able to contribute to your discussion today on resilience and positivity.
Well, Alfredo, if you've been in this for 27 years, this challenge, the COVID-19 challenge, is probably not your first rodeo.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Speak to
We've
that.
seen plenty of these things before.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, if we still believe in a 10-year cycle in the cattle industry, then I have seen in my own career 3 of those ups and downs, plus the previous ones when I was a younger man, a graduate student at the University of Minnesota. So, and through that whole thing, Trevor, what we, I think, have to do today is look back at the victories over those bumps on the road we have had before. And if you maybe haven't seen this and you're younger, remember the victories you have personally had over your own personal challenges. And each of us has been touched by tragedy for sure, one way or another. And yet we've come through, and the wonderful memories made in the past permit us to move forward and to maybe learn from those memories and apply them to what we're facing currently. And this is no different. I mentioned to you before that the term uncharted territory or unprecedented sort of annoys me because it is unprecedented. You know, we don't know if we're going to be around later tonight. And it isn't because of the virus, it is because that's the reality of life.
Right.
So to say this is uncharted territory, well, no deal. I mean, this happens. This happens every day for each of us. So, and yet we wake up in the morning with that desire to get through the day. And that's what I hope we do with this.
Well, I think that's a great message, Alfredo. And if nothing else, if we can just breathe hope into the industry, if we can just be evangelists of positivity and make somebody's day.
Yes.
I was talking to a customer of ours from Bismarck, North Dakota area, and he says, everywhere I go, he says, the negativity is just spilling over.
Yes.
Now, we're not here to sugarcoat this thing and say it's
No.
better than it is or it's different than it is. Reality, we know what that is, but what we only have so many calories, and you start burning calories on negativity, and pretty soon our batteries are dead. So we just want to give everybody a little boost when they need it most.
Right. And the other thing is negativity breeds just more negativity.
Yes.
Quick little story. This morning at the grocery store, the most wonderful, longest line I've been in. Everybody chatting with each other. helping each other because they forgot something at the, towards the end of when they were already in line. So they were asking each other to hold the place in line, and we gratefully said yes. And then people came back and we just joked around a little bit about this and that. Somebody wanted to get to the front of the line. We said yes, only if we could have a bit of their donuts.
You're still living.
Exactly. And yes, it will be tough. We're not saying it won't be, but human resolve and resilience wins over any of this stuff.
Yes.
We'll come back. We'll be better because of this.
Right.
I already sense that in people today. So let's maybe look forward to that together. And as you said earlier, give ourselves a shot in the arm to look ahead at brighter days.
Sure. Well, like right now, I'm doing stuff I've really not done before. I'm wearing these things on my ears. I feel like I've just come back from the moon. I've got this stuff, which seems to be everywhere right now. But the message is we've got to adapt. We've got to be agile. We've got to accept change and evolve with it. Now, Alfredo, what would your advice be for, let's just talk to the cow-calf sector.
Right.
As far as thinking out of the immediate right now pain, markets are down. Right. What can they do? What would your advice be to a cow-calf man? Well,
Trevor, I think at the moment, for example, you have two scenarios in the cow-calf industry. Hopefully about 70% of the producers in this country are going to start calving or are calving at the moment. And either the previous calf crop is gone and sold, and hopefully at a very decent price because prices were going in the correct direction. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Or you still have some weaned calves that you're stockering or backgrounding to sell later. And so on both of those scenarios, you have to increase your dollar value when time comes for those calves to be sold, whether it's the fall of 2020 or the summer of 2020 for heavier yearlings from last year. But when I say that, I say take a good look at what you have, what you've done in the past to, number one, keep cattle alive and to dollar them up by weight gain, whatever that is. And there's many tools out there. There's many resources, but you have time to get this accomplished. Unless you're pushed to sell tomorrow, which, by the way, a good friend of mine sold yesterday at the monthly sale, and he did very well. Red cattle he had put together, treated them well, kept them green, and they did extremely well at the sale, and I'm so happy for him because that is still around, at least for now, right? We won't say that it will be here this entire time, but we need to keep those babies alive that are coming, and we need to make them grow fast and strong so they're ready for the feedlot in the fall. Now,
right, so that when those ranchers market those calves this fall of 2020,
correct,
they've got a good, healthy calf with optimized weight gain. We've talked, there are tools available to get efficient gains on grass at mama's side. So the message right now is please don't make short-term decisions in the heat of the battle. Right. In a panic-driven decision. Think big picture, and I'm sure you are, but think big picture in terms of the ranching business you're in and the calves that are hitting the ground now, as far as optimizing them to market in the fall, and now breeding those cows, if you want to call it your factory that produces that calf.
That's right.
You can't afford to have open cows, if ever. And so anything you can do to drive the economic model of your ranch. So
right. Yeah, and get behind the strategies that have made you money before, because they will be more valuable this year than ever before.
And there might be value-added programs. You possibly use them already, but there's the NHTC, all natural Some guys
Right.
are going grass-fed. I don't care
Right.
what you do, but my message would be look for ways, look for opportunities. Don't look for problems. There's plenty of them. Look for opportunities, because there will be opportunities. I was talking to a guy in Atkinson, Nebraska yesterday, and he said, I said, how do you think this is going to play out? He said, you've always got to have a contingency plan. He says, now it's time to go with plan B. And he said, I think there's a lot of opportunities. Commodities are down. He said, I think there's opportunities. Another guy I was talking to from way up at British Columbia, Fort St. John's, big operator up there. And he says, ranch land is really cheap right now. And he said, I'm looking at options for buying land. So, I just like to encourage people to think outside of the box, think positively. And Alfredo, you've got some advice for us as far as just to look on the brighter side of life and keep living. Can you talk to that?
Well, the way I look at this is look back through your own lifetime. Look at the beef industry, for example, if you don't want to, concentrate too much in your own lifetime. But we've all come through many, many challenges. The beef industry is a perfect example of that. I've indicated before around you, Trevor, that the industry was poised to suffer dramatically in the late 80s, early 90s. We've been attacked everywhere on the too much fat issue, too little marbling issue, too much now impact on the environment. So I say this industry has survived over 30 years of activism. We have another 30 years at least coming at us, and we will survive them. I just want people to look back at either their own personal experiences or experiences with our wonderful industry to recognize that this is a bump on the road. It may be the biggest bump on our road. I'm not saying it isn't, but we will come through, and initially there will be a challenge. And I think even here, I'm going to say 3-4 days after the country's in shutdown, I'm noticing the resilience of the American people coming through.
I love it.
So let's keep it going.
And I'm picking up the same. I'm picking up notes of confidence with just about every rancher I talk to. And I've especially been doing calls and surveys, talking to people, kind of taking the pulse. And, resilience is an amazing thing. We see it in sports teams.
Right.
We see it in the cancer ward.
Yes. Yeah.
People that don't give up. They got that internal fortitude. We see it in business teams or on the sales floor.
Right.
But the one I wanted to focus on is we see it in the ranching industry.
Oh.
People that work their tails off. You've got family businesses. You got generations involved. You got the next generation. I want to put a plug in for the ranching industry. I've personally visited thousands of ranches across U.S. and Canada. You talk about salt of the earth people.
Yes.
Producing a safe, quality, nutritious, clean product that the consumer can trust. It's wonderful.
Yes.
And I saw an article this morning, and I don't want to knock anybody, but this is what the article said. This guy is a food scientist, and he says based on what he sees, and he's studying also human behavior, he sees in the grocery stores, the beef is all gone.
Yes.
He said the pork is half there, and there's plenty of chicken. So this is how people act when times are tough. Hey, at least they're still eating beef. And then, I've got kids at home. I'm in the thick of this too, right? School's closed and everything.
Of course.
And the fears of a housewife. Okay, first of all, they might not want to go to the store.
Right.
I'd say there's plenty of places to order beef online. Just so there's some of the premium ones like 44 Steaks, and then there's plenty of others. You go online, you can get that stuff delivered right to your door.
Yes.
But secondly, for the housewives out there and the mom and pops and these people that are are feeling challenged by the current economic adversity. There are cheaper cuts.
There are, yes.
Take, for instance, the chuck roast, one of my favorites. I cook it on the grill, low and slow. It's extremely flavorful, but if you cook it right, it retains its juices, and it's a great eating experience.
Yes.
Another cut is the Flatiron Steak. Flatiron is the second most tender meat on the animal. Now, it costs half the price of like tenderloin, which is the most tender. So think out of the box. Whether you're a beef producer or whether you're the public, you know what? We've got to keep living. And if you can't go to the restaurant to enjoy a steak, have a steak at home or have a chuck roast at home.
Right. No, and I think, Trevor, those ideas are things that we should encourage the audience to share with their non-beef producer friends and relatives, because and use social media to do this, because someday, perhaps in the next few months, is less income at home, right? And so then we'll all be willing to look for that cut of beef that is something that we can reach out and get without having to spend too much money on it. And chuck roast would be one of them, Flatiron the same way. So not only do it yourself, but share those recipes with the public. It gives us a good feeling to promote our own product. And, let's create a little bit of activism ourselves to spend time, now that we're homebound, sharing many stories about the ranch. How hard is it? We have calving stories, we have save the babies stories, we have orphan calf stories, we have recipes to share. It's time to get out and speak for our industry, for what is the most valuable thing that we can give the public, which is an excellent perception of what our people do at ranches and farms.
Well, I think as the American people, we have a responsibility. We have an obligation. We've stood strong through a lot of challenges, economic, wars, droughts, a lot of stuff.
Right.
And we need to stand strong and stand together and keep being evangelists of hope and positivity.
Right.
Rather than joining the throngs of people that are just sort of feeding off of this negativity, and it's kind of a downward spiral.
Yep.
So, go on.
I was just going to add one thing that I think is very critical, and it is a gem that ranchers and farmers own, and they must at some point rely on this to make themselves right, because tough times will come. We will feel down, a rainy day like today, a cloudy day, additional health challenges unrelated to the virus that could come to our loved ones or friends. It may mean that will force us to take a quiet and philosophical look around, for us to look around our own farms and ranches. We take care of the land, we take care of live animals. Step out there, spend time with them, bring your family with you to do that, to share in watching a bald eagle soar somewhere, watching a baby calf, help them. Watch them suckle. They're obviously immune to all the stuff going around us. But in sharing time with nature and with those animals, we will find our own peace. And it is really within arm's reach for many of the people that are listening to this audio today. So take advantage of that, particularly in the toughest moments. Step outside. And as we said, previous times, is maybe this is the time when you spend more time, obviously at home, doing games that you probably learned when you were little, but also as weather improves and you're thinking of that next summer garden and summer vegetables. It's time to plant a larger garden, have the whole family care for it, and ensure that you cut your own grocery bill by canning or doing things that you haven't done recently or ever.
That's great. That's a great message.
Exactly, will help cut your expenses, and hopefully you can keep more of your gross income for other things.
Sure, and I think that there's a threefold benefit from that garden idea. First of all, you're cutting your expenditure because you're raising it yourself. Secondly, it's probably the best mental therapy you can get.
Yes.
And thirdly, you're probably going to be eating healthier food.
That's right.
Which brings me to another point. Right now at Rio Nutrition, we've sent everybody home. Everybody's working from home.
Right.
So they stay healthy, and we're protecting them. But we have a program called HUH, H-U-H, and it's healthy. I'm going to have to cut this part out. It's called Heads Up Healthy. Heads Up Healthy.
I like it.
We've got to stay healthy, but we've got to make sure that our head is in the right space.
That is correct. Very good.
And that's something for our team, but I would like to encourage everybody to be part of Operation HUH, H-U-H, Heads Up Healthy, and let's stay resilient and strong and weather the storm together. So
that's absolutely right. And one last thing, Trevor, that I need to add.
Yes.
Hopefully you can see this.
Come a little closer to the screen.
Make cattle feeding great again in America again.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And we do that by keeping our calves healthy and strong and growing fast, so that the next segment of our industry, or ourselves, if we're cattle finishing too, take advantage of that, so that we can continue to serve mankind through beef production.
Yes. So it's a bigger picture thing that we're part of, and no matter what happens, people won't stop eating. They might eat different cuts, they might not eat at restaurants, they might do this or that, but they're still going to eat. And I think that's great. Let's go forward from here. To everybody that's listening, I hope that we can make some small positive impact on your life as a result of this. And remember, when life gives you lemons, just crank out that lemonade. Lots of it.
That's right.
Thank you all.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you all.